So this is day 10 through 14. Why so many days in a row? Because I took a vacation with my family. And I decided to, after about a day of thinking about, hey, I gotta record because it's a 30-day challenge, I decided it was probably more important to spend my time being present with my family. So this is the day 10 through 14 of the 30-day challenge, where we are challenged to speak for 60 seconds at the very least, and one day has to be at least 60 minutes. I am on the top of a roof in my backyard. Not really my backyard, it's the green in my backyard of Kettering, Ohio. It's a really nice place with some lighting, and since it's nighttime, this is probably the best light I'm going to get. So I'm going to walk around a little bit and talk. I always think better when I walk around and talk. I will say that these last 5 days have been quite an impression on me. I spent 5 days trying to remember what it's like not having to check things off a to-do list, not having to get things done, and actually being, I will say it, stuck with my family in the same room for all 5 days and being forced to actually get to know each other again, talk, play games, watch minimal amounts of screen. Remember, it was 3 hours per day of screen crack is what I had recently suggested as the daily maximum serving size. It's a lot of light up there. And it was very difficult. I'm somewhat disappointed to say. It was very, very difficult to unwind, relax, and be with just my family. I'm going to stop walking now so that I don't get you all dizzy. Not too much. Why was it difficult? Because I've spent most of my life as a family man, most of my family man life, just trying to make ends meet. Just trying to provide and be a good husband, be a good father, be a good employee, and burying myself in the busyness of that all. Those who know me will understand that yes, there are other reasons, like the drugs, the medications I was on for the 26 years, that severely complicated my ability to relate to people until I got off of this stuff, and I had to pretty much start from scratch and learn what it was like to be a kid that trusted everybody, and then oops, find out you can't trust everybody. You'd like to, but not everybody has the best thing out for you. So you have to learn to trust and then realize that there's a time to not trust, and then become wise to discern which moment of those two it really is with each new human being you encounter. So it wasn't just the medications, though. That was a big part of it. But just burying myself in busyness, that's all I can really say about it. It's amazing how many excuses we make for doing things that are important, doing things that are going to improve our lives and those people that we love who are also in our lives that we want to improve. But at what point do you slow down? At what point do you say enough is enough and you just be? Just be. I had a hard time knowing what to do with myself. We were in a hotel. I won't disclose the details of our vacation. That's for our own enjoyment and our own memories and recollection, but I'll give you some vague details and just say we were in a hotel in some nondescript place just to relax and be with each other. And I found it unnerving as hell. Not just to not have screens, which I understand the value of getting away from those, and I'm working on it, but just the unnerving sensation of I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do with my brain. I don't know what to do with my body. It feels like it's in the way everywhere. I should be running around. I should be cleaning up messes. I should be filing files. I should be tapping on a keyboard. And that was not the point of this. This was a vacation. This was supposed to give us an opportunity to slow down and reconnect. And that was so darn difficult. Embarrassingly difficult. My kids are 15 and 13. And it just feels like so much of our lives have gone on busyness. Getting things done for the kids, getting things done for our future. There was a moment where we're eating at a restaurant and it just got to me. It had been too much. The feeling of non-authenticity, which you've heard me talk about before. All I could feel for so many days in a row was this disconnect that I felt between the family that I provide for and the family that I actually get to enjoy being with. I don't know these people. I mean, not to the extent that I'd like to. And I hear so many people just pass that over as that's the way of a father, that's the way of a provider, that's the way of the American lifestyle. I don't agree. I don't agree. This American lifestyle also dictates on average that when your parents get old enough, you discard of them and you don't bring them back into your home. You put them in some hospice, or before the hospice, I guess you do put them in some kind of a nursing home, right? I don't agree with that either. So when I talk to people who claim that this is normal and this is okay, this is the expectation, you're supposed to be, as a father, you're supposed to be someone who just takes care of your family, and then over time you disconnect from them. I disagree with that. There's something so dysfunctional about that, and yet I've given into it for so many years. There were so many realizations or rude awakenings that I came to when I first got off of the medications. So many things. This one about being disconnected with my family, this came after several years of being sober. I was so caught up in being busy after finally getting sober that I just had to get so many things fixed. Everything was about fixing things. There were so many bad financial decisions, so many bad emotional, relational decisions, so many bad decisions in our entire family that I spent most of those first few years, 3 to 4, just running around being Mr. Fix-It. Didn't have time to really evaluate whether the running around of being busy and fixing things all the time was also going to be a realization later on that itself was problematic too. And so now, on year 7+ of being sober, I'm also questioning the value of running around, being busy, and just fixing things for your kids and for your family's future. And this is not, let me back up and say, this is not about whether you're making money or not. Being a provider is being a provider. If you're staying at home and you're providing at home, you are providing. You are a provider. So before we get all stereotypical here, please take note of that. When I say provider, I'm talking about anyone who's running around getting things done for someone you love. But I question the validity of running around getting so many things done that you don't really have an emotional understanding of those you're providing for. You're providing for them, but are you providing what they need? Are you asking them what they need? Are you too afraid to ask because you might find that you've been doing something wrong and you don't want to be wrong? You're older. potentially, if you're providing, right? You're older than those you're providing for. You don't want to be thought of as being foolish, right? So you impose what you think the people you're providing for actually need. And so you provide that need. But maybe they just need to sit down with you. Maybe what they need is just to have you ask a question or two. Maybe what they need is just silence with you, but being with you. Anyways, I started saying, and I completely sidetracked, but there was one point where we're in a restaurant, and I just couldn't handle the amount of non-authenticity that I had been feeling throughout the days that I had been on vacation so far, trying to just be present with my family and not being able to really detach from work. And there's one specific person that I felt this the most with. And I debate whether or not to divulge that here. I definitely won't divulge the details, but I'll just say that I looked this person in the eye and I told him everything that was on my mind, that how afraid I was to even bring this up, but that I just felt the need to share that because I just couldn't go on pretending anymore. That I had been so busy being busy that I just felt I was losing out on their childhood, and that I was worried about what they thought of me. You can guess that I'm talking to one of my kids anyways, right? Well, there's this fine line I have yet to navigate very well. I'm trying. It's a line between sharing emotional availability with your kids and overburdening them with any kind of knowledge that you might divulge by said sharing. I don't know what the right course of action is. There's been several times where in my life I have shared something with my kids that has been extremely emotionally intense, and I've only shared it after lots of, by the way, hesitation and deliberation. Playing back and forth in my mind all the different scenarios of what ifs, if they know this, if they understand this, if they feel that this is true, what does that do to their worldview? Does that make them feel less safe? Does that make them feel more vulnerable? Does that make them feel like they can't trust? Does that make them feel like they'll think that dad or mom is a bad person? Or will that alleviate some pain? Will that alleviate some confusion? Will that alleviate some anger? Will that ameliorate some understanding? Will that give them a feeling of, God, I'm not alone. Dad feels this way too. Or at least dad can be honest enough, brave enough to speak what is so darn vulnerable and ridiculous that I don't want anybody to know this about me. So God, if dad can do it, maybe I don't have to bottle crap up. Maybe I don't have to keep this to myself. Maybe I don't have to feel suicidal. Maybe I don't have to feel like I'm the only one who feels this, and so I'm an outcast. I'm a reject. I better never say this. But dad said it. So maybe it's not that unsafe to share things like that. That's what I would like the outcome to be. I would love to know that my willingness to be vulnerable and share the things in life with my kids that I don't recall being shared with me from my parents, I would hope that that would serve them well. But I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, every generation wants to do something better that their parents screwed up. We're all human. We're all screwing things up 24/7. That's a given. But every generation wants to do something better than their parents, and that's a good thing. But I just don't know if this thing right now that I do when I share every so often, if that's a good thing. I don't know if that's causing pain or if that's causing growth. Growing pains? Yeah, maybe those. I guess that is both. Here, check it out. Up in the sky. Can you see that? No, you can't because there's a big light behind me, but there's the moon. Why is that exciting? You see moons every time. Go outdoors, you see a moon. It's getting cold. And all I can think about, besides wanting to hop back in the car and turn on that heater, is that I want my kids to know that being uncomfortable is okay. To know that you shouldn't ignore that uncomfort, but that you should lean into it. Try to identify where the source of uncomfort is coming from, vocalize it, so that you can be acutely aware of what it is you should be doing with your life and what it is you shouldn't be doing with your life. My parents did a really good job with me. They really did. They really did. But I tell you, growing up, sharing emotional uncomfort was such an awkward thing that I just hibernated in my poetry. I just dove into a book and started writing and disappeared from this world. It was not an easy task to share anything without the worry that it was going to be judged heavily. And not that they wanted to. You know, it wasn't just my family. I mean, everybody that I was around seemed to have this stigma around sharing. It wasn't a safe, socially acceptable or safe thing to engage in. I loved writing. I loved creating worlds that didn't exist visually in my head before I got into computers and was able to actually do this on the outside, where somebody other than me could see what I was seeing. But I didn't trust it until too late in life. So every time I see my creations creating, my little kids, who are no longer little kids, that excites me. I like taking note as unawkwardly as I can fathom, as I can achieve. Taking note of their creations. And not glamorizing them if they suck. You know, if you got an F, you got an F. You know, if I don't think your art's all that great, I want to be honest about it. But there's so many times where they're doing stuff that is just really encouraging, that they trust themselves enough to create. And I want them to know that I appreciate and admire that, the courage in that. Both of my kids have spent a lot of time speaking, doing public speaking in their schools for projects. I did a little bit of that when I was their age, but not as much as I'm really thankful the schools are doing now. These kids know how to vocalize for themselves to some degree, and I'm sure they'll learn more and more as they get older and have many other opportunities around speaking. But just the ability to speak things into existence, the ability to trust what's in you enough to open your mouth without worrying about stuttering, without worrying about somebody throwing those sounds back into you and just cramming that down and saying, no, that is not acceptable. Don't do it. I'm glad they've had an opportunity to do that. And so as I close in on minute 20 and look for a little more words to ad lib so I can try to pass my last, I think I got to 21 and a half last time. I want to try to at least get to 22. I'm going to thank you for watching this tonight or whenever you watch this. I appreciate somebody valuing my words, what I choose to vocalize and form into being by just speaking. It takes time out of your day, night, whatever, to watch this, and I appreciate being heard. And I also hope that this helps in some way. If you feel alone in any way when it comes to expressing yourself, when it comes to speaking your truths into being for others to witness and appreciate, I hope that this helps you feel like maybe you can try and not let the world stuff your noises inside you and tell you they're not valid. One very difficult thing about expressing yourself is that you might find a situation where others you care about deeply also want to express themselves. And there's nothing wrong with expressing yourself, but sometimes the kinds of things you choose to express in life, regardless of what I said earlier about not being forced to stuff those noises back inside you, but some things that you want to express, you need to discern the healthiness of that expression. And if you have a lot of rage in your life and you want to express that, there's a chance you might hurt others with that. If you have a lot of desire to be on stage and just share everything about yourself, there's a chance you might hurt others with that. And so there's a strange balance to be had there too, when you're expressing yourself and trying to help others express themselves. If you love each other, I wouldn't say you do it cautiously, this expression, but you take into account your previous commitments in life. And you find a way to continue to honor those commitments while you express yourself. In the past, so I'm married, and I've been married since 1999, but we've been together since 95, just about. And in the past, when I was on my medications, a really big problem I had was expressing myself at the expense of my family. It was very difficult to discern what would cause any kinds of problems for them. And I had a huge problem with impulse control. And so I tried and dabbled with way too many things before questioning whether or not these things were going to be helping them as well as me. And so I'm going to end with that and say, when you go to express yourself, do it responsibly. Only you can hold yourself accountable to what you choose to let out into the world. People can try to stop you, people can try to critique you and tell you that it's just not valuable or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're the person that has to hold yourself accountable to your dreams, but also responsible to your previous commitments and to your loved ones. And that goes for everybody. It's not just free reign on art, let it all out and open, and then question why people hurt themselves after listening to a song. Oh, it's just lyrics. I wrote these lyrics. It's the responsibility of the parents to talk to their kids if their kids are feeling suicidal. No. Also, you as an artist, if you're writing lyrics, if you're creating a movie, if you're making a music video, a documentary, writing a book, whatever it might be, You have an audience. Your audience is listening. Some of your audience members might need more understanding than others, and your creative liberties do impact people for good and for bad. So as an artist, whatever your craft, your chosen craft is, it's your responsibility, that craft. It holds a lot of persuasion and a lot of power.